officially welcome you because I have someone more important to do that, and someone who actually is responsible for us being able to host this contest in this lovely venue, and that is Mayor Thomas Schneider. And he has, I think you've been mayor for the past, what, 6 years. That's what I thought, 6 years. Served on the city council for many, many years before that. He's a husband, a father, a grandfather, and he was a civil engineer. He's done a lot of things, but one of the things he likes to dabble in is poetry, and I'm sure he may tell you about that. So Mayor Schneider, if you would join us, here he's thumbing through, I bet, a book of poems. So come on up, and this is the official welcome.
Hello and welcome to the beautiful city. That phrase was coined by Mayor Eagan, and I think it's very apt. And it really, I think it describes the character of the people of the Florissant Valley. You know, we were founded in 1786, so we're quite old. We're older than the county, and we're older than the state, and we're even older than the Constitution of the United States. So we sort of predate some of the jigsaw puzzle that is St. Louis County and St. Louis region, and we're the only communities that are actually older than us are St. Louis, St. Charles, and St. Genevieve. We're the fourth oldest settlement in the Louisiana Purchase Territory. It was mentioned that I have written a little bit of poetry. I'm going to share that with you, and then I'm going to, if you bear with me, I'm going to share something else I think you'll find kind of current and contemporary, yet also very historic as the city of Florissant. But you know, I have 3/8. My surname is Schneider, so I'm 1/4 German, and I'm 3/8 Irish. And I used to think I was half Irish and a quarter Scots, but I've come to find out that I'm 3/8 of each, so I'm a 3/8 Scots and 3/8 Irish. And you know, every year, and also sometimes at funerals, there's a melancholy tune that is you'll all recognize. You've seen it in movies. It's at the end of It's a Wonderful Life, which is probably the most viewed Christmas movie. And on New Year's Eve, at the stroke of midnight, if you're at an orchestra, if you have an orchestra at the place that you're at, they usually play a tune called Auld Lang Syne. And you know, sometimes we hear these words or don't know what they mean, and we have this gift from the internet called Google, and we can look up just about anything. And so I got curious about what does Auld Lang Syne really mean, and I looked it up, and it's a Scottish phrase which means old long since. And you know, it's kind of it's something that's played every year, and it should have some contemporary meaning because it had a deep meaning to the Scots. You know, what we think of poetry. A lot of times, poetry also becomes song, and songs are nothing more than poetry put to music and to put to a score. And some of the greatest poems ever written, and some of the things that have really affected our lives and our thinking about things have been songs, but really they're poems that are put to music. But they don't have to be meaningful. But I wanted to get some meaning into the old long since from the Scottish Auld Lang Syne. So I borrowed an old Scots word or two and mixed them with my own in hope that I could speak to you in this melancholy tone. Please listen now with a quiet mind and think about the passing time. Reflect fondly on loved ones lost. Remember them with this rhyme. Before you worked to please your boss or heard a sweet grandchild cry, before watching your graduate walk or giving away the bride, before the war or the war before that, when we were young and up to bat, these heavy thoughts, will they last? Fading memories, long since past. Old long since we had these times, Auld Lang Syne is my Scottish rhyme. Should old acquaintance be forgot, like thoughts that make us wince? Should old acquaintance be forgot in days of old long since? Should old acquaintance be forgotten, never brought to mind? Should old acquaintance be forgot in days of Auld Lang Syne? For Auld Lang Syne, my friend, for Auld Lang Syne, we'll take a cup of kindness yet for Auld Lang Syne. And we brave have run a race or two with help from hands and minds. We've wandered many a weary foot since Auld Lang Syne. We sometimes battled for our dreams, vying for hearts and minds, and seas between us may have roared since Auld Lang Syne. But here's my hand, O trusty friends, and give me hands of thine. Let's take that cup of kindness now for love and Auld Lang Syne. So that's my poem. And I kind of wanted to talk about somebody that's very famous, and I wanted to talk about poetry in general. Poetry is for the young. Remember that. It's for the young and the young at heart. Poetry is for those who have not become cynical, or those who have become cynical and need an outlet to express it. But really, poetry is for the young before you've been poisoned by the cynicism of the world, in my opinion. And I can give you an example of a famous individual. This person is so famous. Now, some of you are going to guess this right away, who I'm talking about. This person is so famous that their picture is on paper money. So you can think about who wrote these poems. Which of the 7 individuals on paper money, United States currency, wrote these poems? And the first one is a poem. They're all men so far, but this poem wrote this little intuition about women when he was a teenager, a mid-teenager. So stroking puss's velvet paws, how well the jade conceals her claws, and purrs, but if at last you hap to squeeze her somewhat hard, she spits her back up, prends guard. Good faith, she has you fast. And about a hurricane, he wrote, like great guns for about 6 hours, save for half an hour's intermission, the face of this once beautiful island is now so calamitous and disfigured as it would beggar all description. It seemed as if a total dissolution of nature was taking place. The roaring of the sea and wind, fire meteors flying about in the air, the prodigious glare of almost perpetual lightning, the crash of the falling houses, and the ear-piercing shrieks of the distressed were sufficient to strike astonishments into angels. And then a rebuke of those, his senior, this teenager writes, where now, O vile worms, is all thy boasted fortitude and resolution? What is become of thine arrogance and self-sufficiency? Death comes rushing on in triumph, veiled in a mantle of tenfold darkness. How his unrelenting scythe pointed the ready for the stroke. See thy wretched helpless state and learn to know thyself. Despise thyself, adore thy God. O ye who revel in affluence, see the afflictions of humanity and bestow your supplicity to ease them. Succor the miserable and lay up treasure in heaven. And then a little bit later in life, when he was about 20, he cared for this young family, and he cared for this, they had children, and there was an infant death, which was common, much more common back then, and he seemed to take it to heart, and he wrote a poem as if it was from the mother. For the sweet babe, my doting heart, did all a mother's fondness feel. careful to act each tender part and guard from every threatening ill. But what, alas, avail my care? The unrelenting hand of death, regardless of a parent's prayer, has stopped my lovely infant's breath. Has anyone guessed, if anyone's guessed the author, raise your hand. And you can say it together. Yes. The great play, I read this biography about 5 years ago. It didn't have the Hamilton play on the front. This was I got this as a gift from a friend recently, but I already had one that's much more faded from age. I read a lot of biographies of presidents and other great Americans, and the Alexander Hamilton biography is very compelling. I can't wait to see the play. The play is just full of poetry, obviously, and it's supposed to have just a tremendous amount of energy. The energy of Alexander Hamilton, he wrote a majority of the Federalist Papers that justified the ratifying of the Constitution, and he was a stalwart. He was in the ear of Washington. He was Washington's aide-de-camp. Hamilton became the Secretary of State. Hamilton's vision is what America has become. He had to fight tenaciously for that vision. He was able to convince Washington that the strong federal government was the way to go, rather than a confederation of strong states, which is what Jefferson wanted. It was a battle between Hamilton and Jefferson. But I just wanted to share that with you. We don't think of Alexander Hamilton as a poet. We don't think of our great founding fathers as poets, but yet here it is. It's in his own words. It's excerpts in this biography, this great biography of this great American, which is now set on Broadway as one of the most successful plays ever, and I can't wait to see it. But I welcome you. I appreciate your interest in poetry, and I hope that you can spread your enthusiasm for poetry to others, because it makes the world a more beautiful place. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Schneider, for your continued support. Obviously, he likes history, too. And we're not going to waste our shot. We're going to get started on this really quickly. I do want to just go over the way the rounds are set up. Each of the contestants from the respective schools will be coming to this microphone and read their first poem. So in the program it says poem 1. That's all the first round poems. We will go completely through the first round poems, and then as the judges have their ballots and turn them in to Ryan Porter, who's sitting right down here in the front row, then he'll collect them from the other judges who are at the judging table there in the center of the house, run them to the tabulation booth. But we're not going to wait until they give us a high sign. We're going to keep going. So we'll go to the next person. I will introduce each one in turn briefly. They've given me some information about themselves that I think you might find very interesting. But at the very end, we'll decide between rounds 2 and 3 if we need a break. And contestants, I'm saying that for your benefit. You can give me a high sign, yes, we need 5 minutes here. And if we can keep going, though, we will do that. And we have a reception following the announcement of the winner. So let's begin. I will tell you more about the contest and lots of other things as the evening proceeds when we do have some time. But let's go ahead and hear our first round at this point. And our first contestant is Hope Doherty. Did I say that right, Hope? And she's a 16-year-old sophomore from Afton High School, where Troy Kojak is the school coordinator. And she sometimes is called Hopi. And I don't know whether she'll want any of us to do that, but she sometimes is. She originally participated in Poetry Out Loud for the sake of the grade. But now, she says, it's become something more. And I think a number of students perhaps encounter that type of evolving experience and involvement with the poetry. This is her second year of competition, but this is her first year to get to this level. So we welcome her. Hope, if you will come on to the stage right now, we'll hear your round one poem.
Refusing Silence by Tess Gallagher. Heartbeat trembling, your kingdom of leaves near the ceremony of water. I never insisted on you. I admit I delayed. I was the empress of delay. But it can't be put off now. On the sacred branch of my only voice, I insist. Insist for us all, which is the job of the voice, and especially of the poet. Else, what am I for? What use am I if I don't insist? There are messages to send, gatherings and songs, because we need to insist. Else, what are we for? What use are we?
And our second contestant is Bradley C. McGinnis. He's a 17-year-old senior from Christian Brothers College High School with Charles Beach as his school coordinator. And this is his first year to participate. And he's doing so because he thought it would be a great experience. And he's always liking to try new things so he doesn't get bored, doesn't peak too soon in what he likes to do. But he says that he has loved to learn the beauty that poetry takes. It takes place in the poetry itself. So let's hear the beauty that he will bring to his first round poem. Bradley?
Ode on Solitude by Alexander Pope. Happy the man whose wish and care a few potential acres bound, content to breathe his native air in his own ground, whose herds with milk, whose fields with bread, whose flocks supply him with attire, whose trees in summer yield him shade, in winter fire. Blessed who can unconcernedly find hours, days, and years slide soft away in health of body, peace of mind, quiet by day, sound sleep by night. Study and ease, together mixed, sweet recreation, and innocence, which most does please, with meditation. Thus, let me live unseen, unknown. Thus, unlamented let me die. Steal from the world, and not a stone tell where I lie.
Our next contestant is an 18-year-old senior from Lutheran High School. Carol Ann Mickey is her school coordinator, and her name is Maggie Federhofer. Am I saying that right, Maggie? And it is her first year as well to participate in Poetry Out Loud. And she decided to do so because she says she enjoys competing and reciting. The biggest challenge for her has been performing the poems and really becoming the persona in the poem. And that, you know, I think is something for everyone to think about. There is a persona in every poem, a voice to be heard. And we're going to hear Maggie's right now. So Maggie, if you'd come right on up, and we'll hear your first round selection.
Sugar Dada by J. Allen Rosser. Go home. It's never what you think it is. The kiss, the diamond, the slam dance pulse in the wrist. Nothing is true, my dear. Not even the rumor of passion you'll doubtless insist on perceiving. In my glance, Please, just go. Home is never where you think it is. Meaning lies in meaning's absence. The mist is always almost just about to lift. Nothing is truer. Dear, not even this candle can explain its searing twist of flame mounted on cool amethyst. Go on home, not where you think it is, but where you would expect its comfort least. In still black stars our century will miss seeing. Nothingness is not as true as this faith we grind up with denial, grist to the midnight mill, morning's catalyst. Come, let's go home, wherever you think it is. Nothing is true, my dear, not even this.
But right now, the insight that we're going to pay attention to is from Ebony Williams. She's a 16-year-old junior at McClure South Berkeley, where Pam Geppert is her school coordinator. This is her second year to participate also. And she says, I love poetry and I love performing. This is a needed experience. And I think the more that you do something like this, you see it as a need. So we'll see how that works out as she interprets her first poem. Ebony? I'm by here to do it, but no, I think it may work pretty well. What do you think? Okay.
Sonnet 29, When in Disgrace with Fortune and Men's Eyes, by William Shakespeare. When in disgrace with fortune and men's eyes, I all alone beweep my outcast state, and trouble deaf heaven with my bootless cries, and look upon myself and curse my fate. Wishing me like to one more rich in hope, featured like him with friends possessed, desiring this man's art and that man's scope, with what I most enjoy contented least. Yet, in these thoughts myself almost despising, haply I think on thee, and then my state, like to the lark at break of day arising from sullen earth, sings hymns at heaven's gate. For thy sweet love remembered such wealth brings, that then I scorn to change my state with kings.
Our next individual is Brianna Chandler, right, Brianna? And she's a 16-year-old sophomore from Nerig's Hall, where Jean Fry is her school coordinator. This is her first year in the competition. She says she's always loved poetry. Whenever I'm at a loss for words, there's always a poem that expresses exactly what I feel. And her biggest benefit in participating in Poetry Out Loud is getting a chance to analyze and internalize the message of each of her poems. So we're going to hear what she's done with her round one poem.
Art versus Trade by James Weldon Johnson. Trade versus art. Brain versus heart. Oh, the earthiness of these hard-hearted times when clinking dollars and jingling dimes drown all the finer music of the soul. Life as an octopus with but this creed, that all the world was made to serve his greed. Trade has spread out his mighty myriad claw and drawn into his foul, polluted maw the brightest and the best. Well, nigh has he drained dry the sacred font of truth? And if, forsooth, he has left yet some struggling streams from it to go, he has so contaminated their flow That truth, scarce is it true. Poor art, with struggling gasp, lies strangled, dying in his mighty grasp. He locks his grimy fingers about her snowy throat so tender. Is there no power to rescue her, protect, defend her? Shall art be left to perish? Shall all the images her shrines cherish be left this iconoclast to vulgar trade? Oh, that mankind had less of brain and more of heart. Oh, that the world had less of trade and more of art. Then there would be less grinding down the poor. Then men would learn to love each other more. For trade sucks like a giant through the land, bearing aloft the rich in his high hand, while down beneath his mighty, ponderous tread, he crushes those who cry out for daily bread. Thank you.
Our next contestant is Brendan Davis. He's our youngest participant, I think. I shouldn't call attention to that, should I, Brendan? But he is a 9th grader, 14 years old, from Parkway South. Steve, is it Wissinger or Weisinger? Pardon? Wissinger. I thought so, but I needed to correct that if it was wrong, Wissinger. And Brendan, this is his first year to participate, because 9th grade is the first year you can participate in this contest, 9 through 12. And he says he's excelled in poetry in the past and wanted to take it to the next step. And it's proven to be quite a challenge because he's got to balance all of his other things that he does. So practicing his poems and balancing it with homework has been a challenge. I think all might agree in this little group of contestants over there. Come on up, Brendan, and let's hear what you've done while you juggled many, many things. This is a very active young man.
Sonnet 1 by Sir Philip Sidney. Loving in truth and fain in verse my love to show, that the dear she may take some pleasure of my pain. Pleasure might cause her read, reading might make her know, knowledge might pity win, and pity grace obtain. I sought fit words to paint the blackest face of woe, studying inventions fine, her wits to entertain. Oft turning others' leaves to see if thence would flow some fresh and fruitful showers upon my sunburnt brain. But words came halting forth, wanting invention's stay. Invention, nature's child, fled step-dame study's blows, and others' feet still seemed but strangers in my way. Thus great with child to speak, and helpless in my throes, biting my truant pen, beating myself for spite. Fool, said my muse to me, look in thy heart and write.
Next contestant, Emily Bauer, right? 17-year-old senior from Parkway West. Andrea Benmavar, I'm butchering it. Oh, I did it? Okay, great. She's the coordinating sponsor at Parkway West. And this is Emily's first year to participate. And she heard about the opportunity, as I think many of the students do, from their English teacher. Not in all cases, right, Pam? She's the media specialist and librarian. But she heard about it from her English teacher, and since she loves poetry and stories, she thought she'd try something new. And she says the biggest challenge has been finding her ability to allow just my voice to move and educate an audience, rather than with a lot of body language and drama. This skill has also given me patience and has built up my ability to vary my vocal inflections and connect where my voice is and how that can determine where the story is being told. That's kind of a sophisticated analysis of what she is doing as she prepares for the poetry. So let's hear what she's done. Emily, come on up.
It was not death, for I stood up, number 355, by Emily Dickinson. It was not death, for I stood up, and all the dead lie down. It was not night, for all the bells put out their tongues for noon. It was not frost, for on my flesh I felt sirocco's crawl, nor fire, for just my marble feet could keep a chancel cool. And yet it tasted like them all. The figures I have seen, set orderly for burial, reminded me of mine, as if my life were shaven and fitted to a frame, and could not breathe without a key. And 'twas like midnight some, when everything that ticked has stopped, and space stares all around, or grisly frost's first autumn morns repeal the beating ground. But most like chaos, stopless, cool, without a chance or spar or even a report of land to justify despair.
If you aren't meant to represent St. Louis County yet, don't worry. Those of you who are not seniors, you've got more chances. Do it again. So she says, leave this building knowing you are a changed and a better person who will keep growing in the years ahead. So I hope that is something that Katie Donnelly certainly thinks about, as she is only a sophomore, and 16-year-old, am I right? You're a sophomore, right? She is from Villa de Chêne, and Elizabeth Yee is her school coordinator. And this is her first year to participate in Poetry Out Loud. She also has a strong love for poetry and thought I would regret my decision if I did not at least give it a try. So she's here to give it a try, but she loves science. She loves logic and rationality. So she's got a broad base from which she can analyze her poems and bring them to life. So please come do that, Katie.
Beautiful Wreckage by W.D. Earhart. What if I didn't shoot the old woman running away from our patrol, or the old man in the back of the head, or the boy in the marketplace? Or what if the boy, but he didn't, have a grenade, and the woman and Hugh didn't lie in the rain in a mortar pit with 7 Marines just for food? Gaffney didn't get hit in the knee. Ames didn't die in the river. Ski didn't die in a medevac chopper between Con Thien and Da Nang. In Vietnamese, Con Thien means place of angels. What if it really was? Instead of the place of rotting sandbags, incoming heavy artillery, rats, and mud. What if the angels were Ames and Ski, or the lady, the man, and the boy, and they lifted Gaffney out of the mud and healed his shattered knee? What if none of it happened the way I said? Would it all be a lie? Would the wreckage be suddenly beautiful? Would the dead rise up and walk?
Right? We're ready for round 2 of Poetry Out Loud, St. Louis County Regional. So we're going to welcome back to the stage Hope Darty, and with her second poem.
The Film by Kate Northrop. Come, let's go in. The ticket taker has shyly grinned, and it's almost time. Lovely one, let's go in. The wind tonight's too wild, the sky too deep, too thin. Already it's time, the lights have dimmed. Come, loveliest, let's go in. And know these bodies we do not have to own, passing quietly as dreams as snow. Already leaves are falling and music begins. Lovely one, it's time. Let's go in.
300 Goats by Naomi Shihab Nye. In icy fields, is water flowing in the tank? Will they huddle together, warm bodies pressing? Is it the year of the goat or the sheep? Scholars debating Chinese zodiac, follower or leader? Oh, lead them to a warm corner, little ones towards bulkier bodies. Lead them to the brush which cuts the icy wind. Another frigid night swooping down. Aren't you worried about them? I ask my friend who lives by herself on the ranch of goats, far from here near the town of Ozona. She shrugs, not really. They know what to do. They're goats.
Ode by Arthur O'Shaughnessy. We are the music makers, and we are the dreamers of dreams, wandering by lone sea breakers and sitting by desolate streams, world losers and world forsakers, on whom the pale moon gleams. Yet we are the movers and shakers of the world forever, it seems. With wonderful deathless ditties, we build up the world's great cities. And out of a fabulous story, we fashion an empire's glory. One man with a dream, at pleasure, shall go forth and conquer a crown, and three with a new song's measure can trample an empire down. We, in the ages lying in the buried past of the earth, built Nineveh with our sighing, and Babel itself with our mirth, and overthrew them with prophesying to the old of the new world's worth. For each age is a dream that is dying, or one that is coming to birth.
Hope is the Thing with Feathers by Emily Dickinson. Hope is the thing with feathers that perches in the soul and sings the tune without the words that never stops at all. And sweetest in the gale is heard, and sore must be the storm that could abash the little bird that kept so many warm. I've heard it in the strangest land and on the strangest sea, yet never in extremity it asked a crumb of me.
Weighing In by Rena P. Espiat. What the scale tells you is how much the earth has missed you, body, how it wants you back again after you leave it to go forth into the light. Do you remember how earth hardly noticed you then? Others would rock you in their arms, warm in the flow that fed you, coaxed you upright. Then earth began to claim you with spots and fevers, began to look at you with a bruised knee, a bloody shin, And finally, to stoke you, body, drumming intimate coded messages through music you dance to unawares. There in your dreaming, and in your poems, and in your obedient blood. Body, how useful you became, how lucky, heavy with news and breakage. Rich and sad, sometimes imagining that greedy zero you must have been. Imagining that greedy zero you must have been sometimes. That promising empty sack of possibilities never to come tomorrow. But look at you now, body, soft old shoe that love wears when it's stirring. Look down. Look at how much earth wants what you weigh, needs what you know. Thank you.
I Am Trying to Break Your Heart by Frank Young. I am hoping to hang your head on my wall in shame. The slightest taxidermy thrills me. Fish forever leaping on the living room wall, paperweights made from the skulls of small animals. I want to wear your smile on my sleeve and break your heart like a horse or its leg. Weeks of being bucked off, then, all at once, you're mine. Put me down. I want to call you thine, to tattoo mercy along my knuckles. I assassin down the avenue. I hope to have you forgotten by noon, to know you by your knees, palsied by prayer. Loneliness is a science. Consider the taxidermist's tender hands, trying to keep from losing skin the bobcat grin of the living.
Entirely by Louis MacNeice. If we could get the hang of it entirely, it would take too long. All we know is the splash of words in passing and falling twigs of song. And when we try to eavesdrop on the great presences, it is rarely that by a stroke of luck we can appropriate even a phrase entirely. If we could find our happiness entirely in somebody else's arms, we should not fear the spears of the spring, nor the city's yammering fire alarms. But as it is, the spears each year go through our flesh, and almost hourly, bell or siren banishes the blue eyes of love entirely. And if the world were black or white entirely, and all the charts were plain, instead of a mad weir of tigerish waters, a prism of delight and pain, we might be sure where we wished to go, or again, we might be merely bored. But in brute reality, there is no road that is right entirely.
Hope is a Thing with Feathers by Emily Dickinson. Hope is a thing with feathers that perches in the soul and sings the tune without the words and never stops at all. And sweetest in the gale is heard, and sore must be the storm that could have bashed the little bird that kept so many warm. I've heard it in the chillest land and on the strangest sea, yet never in extremity it asked a crumb of me.
Silence by Thomas Hood. There is a silence where hath been no sound. There is a silence where no sound may be. In the cold grave, under the deep, deep sea, or in the wide desert where no life is found, which hath been mute and still must sleep profound. No voice is hushed, no life treads silently, but clouds and cloudy shadows wander free, that never spoke over the idle ground, but in green ruins and in desolate walls of antique palaces where man hath been, though the dun fox or wild hyena calls, and owls that flit continually between shriek to the echo and the low winds moan. There, the true silence is, self-conscious and alone.
Abandoned Farmhouse by Ted Kuzer. He was a big man, says the size of his shoes, on a pile of broken dishes by the house. A tall man, too, says the length of the bed in an upstairs bedroom. And a good, God-fearing man, says the Bible with the broken back, on the floor below the window, dusty with sun. But not a man for farming, say the fields cluttered with boulders and the leaky barn. A woman lived with him, says the bedroom walls papered with lilacs and the kitchen shelves covered with oilcloth. And they had a child, says the sandbox made from a tractor tire. Money was scarce, say the jars of plum preserves and canned tomatoes sealed in the cellar hole. And the winter's cold, say the rags in the window frames. It was lonely here, says the narrow country road. Something went wrong, says the empty house in the weed-choked yard. Stones in the field say he was not a farmer. The still sealed jars in the cellar say she left in a nervous haste. And the child? Its toys are strewn in the yard like branches after a storm. A rubber cow, a rusty tractor with a broken plow, a doll in overalls. Something went wrong, they say. Thank you.
Personal by Tony Hoagland. Don't take it personal, they said to me. But I did. I took it all quite personal. The breeze and the river and the color of the fields, the price of grapefruit and stamps, the wet hair of women in the rain. And I cursed what hurt me, and I praised what gave me joy. The most simple-minded of possible responses. The government reminded me of my father with its deafness and its laws, and the weather reminded me of my mom with her tropical squalls. Enjoy it while you can, they said of happiness. Think first, they said of talk. Get over it, they said at the School of Broken Hearts. But I couldn't, and I didn't, and I don't believe in the clean break. I believe in the compound fracture, served with a sauce of dirty regret. I believe in saying it all and taking it all back and saying it again for good measure, while the air fills up with I'm sorries, like wheeling birds, and the trees look seasick in the wind. Oh, life, can you blame me for making a scene? You were that yellow caboose, the moon disappearing over a ridge of cloud. I was the dog chained in some fool's backyard, barking and barking, trying to convince everything else to take it personal too.
Song, you charmed me not with that fair face, by John Dryden, from An Evening's Love. You charmed me not with that fair face, though it was all divine. To be another's is the grace that makes me wish you mine. The gods in fortune take their part, who like young monarchs fight, and boldly dare invade that heart, which is another's right. First mad with hope we undertake to pull up every bar, but once possessed, we faintly make a dull defensive war. Now every friend is turned a foe in hope to get our store, and passion makes us cowards grow, which made us brave before.
Invictus by William Ernest Henley. Out of the night that covers me, as black as the pit from pole to pole, I thank whatever gods may be for my unconquerable soul. In the fell clutch of circumstance, I have not winced nor cried aloud. Under the bludgeonings of chance, my head is bloody but unbowed. Beyond this place of wrath and tears looms but the horror of the shade, and yet the menace of the years finds and shall find me unafraid. It matters not how straight the gate, how charged with punishments the scroll. I am the master of my fate. I am the captain of my soul.
Barter by Sarah Teasdale. Life has loveliness to sell. Blue waves whitened on a cliff, soaring fires that sway and sing, and children's faces looking up, holding wonder like a cup. Life has loveliness to sell, music like a curve of gold, scent of pine trees in the rain, eyes that love you, arms that hold, and, for your spirit's still delight, holy thoughts that star the night. Spend all you have for loveliness. Buy it and never count the cost. For one white, singing hour of peace, count many a year of strife well lost, and for a breath of ecstasy, give all you have been or could be.
Sacuan Papalotos by Brenda Cardenas, in memory of Jose Antonio Borciaga, 1947 to 1996. We are chameleons, we become chameleon. Jose Antonio Borciaga. We are space between the black-orange blur of a million monarchs on their 2-generation migration south to Fur Crown, Michoacan, where tree trunks will sprout feathers, a forest of paper-thin wings. Our Mexica, cocooned in the membranes de la Madre Tierra, say we are reborn, Sacuan Papalotos, mariposas negras y anaranjadas, in whose sweep the dead whisper. We are between the flicker of a chameleon's tail that turns his desert blue backbone to jade or pink sand, the snake-skinned fraternal twins of solstice and equinox. The ashen dawn, silvering dusk, la oración as it leaves the lips, the tug from sleep, the glide into dreams that husk out mestizo memory. We are one life, passing through the prism of all others, gathering color and song, cempasúchil and drum, to leave a rhythm scattered on the wind, dust tinting the tips of fingers as we slip into our new light.
Author's Prayer by Ilya Kaminsky. If I speak for the dead, I must leave this animal of my body. I must write the same poem over and over, for an empty page is the white flag of their surrender. If I speak for them, I must walk on the edge of myself. I must live as a blind man who runs through rooms without touching the furniture. Yes, I live. I can cross the street asking, what year is it? I can dance in my sleep and laugh in front of the mirror. Even sleep is a prayer. Lord, I will praise your madness, and in a language not mine, speak of music that wakes us, music in which we move. For whatever I say is a kind of petition, in the darkest days must I praise.
I think we need to give them a real solid round of applause. I love their voices. Weren't their voice, I mean, just the quality in their vocal tones and pitches and what they did with them. It was wonderful just to listen to it as music. But if you have any thoughts for your school coordinator, for any mentor, or any response to Poetry Out Loud, can we get a sentence from each of you down the way? We'll just start with Hope and go to Katie, and let's hear from them in their own voices, as no one in particular, just them. Not a poet, just, well, they may all be poets too. Hope?
Hi, I'm Hope. If whether I get one of these trophies or any of them do, they were all amazing, and I couldn't be happier to be here. For my teacher, thank you for being so supportive. Sorry, I'm kind of cough. And to family, thank you for being here. I know, Danny, you have homework, but thank you. And to everybody else in the room, thank you for being here. And poetry is so much more than you may think it'd be. For me, poetry was always a hard subject during school because I would never interpret it right, but now I realize you can interpret it every way that you would like, and it's beautiful. So thank you.
I'm Brad. Nice to meet you guys. Hey, what's up? I first want to say that everybody here is amazing. That was incredible. Let's hear it for them one time. That was awesome. I have never participated in this. I do theater, but my teacher in the back there, Mr. Beach, he was my world religions teacher actually last year. We don't have a poetry class or a speech team or anything like that, but he just approached me and he said, I think you'd be good for this, let's do it. And I was like, poetry's pretty lame, but whatever. That's not the end of the story. But then I started reading some poetry on the website, and I was like, this is amazing. That's incredible. Like the storytelling and the emotion that goes into poetry is truly incredible. I'm an emotional guy, if any of you can relate to that. I cry all the time, which is fine, but reading these poems, it was just like, wow, some serious emotion put into this. It's almost as if the writer takes their emotions or their heart and just puts it on the page. That's all I wanted to say, so it was a great experience.
Hello, I'm Maggie, and I would like to say a big thanks to Mrs. Mickey, who got me into this competition because it started out as a requirement, and then I was like, oh, I have to do this, but I just want a really good grade, and then it ended up turning into something else, and I've really started to appreciate poetry. I even got a poetry book for Christmas, and I'd like to thank my mom for taking me here, and I'd like to thank all my friends who came, even though it's for extra. Even though they're getting extra credit. Thank you.
Whatever it takes, teachers, whatever it takes.
I'm Ebony, and I would just like to thank my mom and my dad for driving me here, because I wouldn't be here right now if they hadn't drove me. And I would like to thank Ms. Geppard for inspiring me. It's been a really great experience being here, especially with all of you. And I've been writing poetry ever since I was young, and it's just a great thing to be able to express my love of poetry with like-minded people who all did a very good job.
Hi, I'm Brianna, and I'd just like to thank my teacher for bringing me here, Miss Stade, and I just want to, I guess, have a round of applause for everyone else because they were so amazing. And I think one of the greatest benefits I've gotten just from participating in this is that, even though we don't always remember all the words, the meaning of the poem will always stay with me, and just coming here and being able to witness this talent up here on the stage was amazing.
So I'd like to thank my parents and my sister over here and my teacher, Mr. Wissinger, for making me do this. This was really intimidating for me, especially I'm at least a grade level behind everyone else here. I've never been much of a performer. When I was at even my school competition with 4 to 5 other people, I got up there and my legs were shaking uncontrollably in the middle of my poems. I could not do that at all. But I'm really thankful that he's pushed me out of my comfort zone with this, made me come here anyways. Before this, I never viewed poetry as more than just a collection of words on paper, occasionally rhyming in a slightly artsy way, but then looking into this, it's so much more. There's so many ways to interpretate it? Wow. Wow, interpret it. Wow, okay. There's so many different ways to view it, and it's just really opened up my mind to all that. So, thank you.
Hi, my name is Emily, and first I want to thank my mother for coming here and supporting me and listening to all of these poems inside and out and up and down, probably hundreds of times. And also a special thanks to the coordinators and the judges and the crew and the behind the scenes love up in there. I see you. Extra special thanks for making this possible and giving these students and myself this great opportunity. And at first, I joined this because I saw it, well, it was extra credit, but I saw it and I've always liked poetry, and honestly, I did not know about this competition until this year, and I wish I had learned about it sooner, because then I would have been able to extend my knowledge and my love for poetry so much more, and I'm so thankful and grateful for this experience, and that I get to share it with you all.
Hi, I'm Katie, and first I want all of y'all to give yourselves a round of applause because y'all were bomb. And second, I'm piggybacking off what you said, thank you to all the people who coordinated this whole thing, and also you, because I love all the stories that you told in between. They made my day.
Thanks, Sarah Koo.
I'd also like to thank Miss Yee, who was my person who got me ready for this, because if she didn't, I would be a mess on stage. I would probably break down and just like crawl off stage. That's how horrible I probably would have done. So, yeah, thank you.
Well,
I'm so sorry. I forgot one thing. I'm so sorry. I almost forgot, and I feel terrible. Thank you, Mrs. Bemovar, who took me here and has also helped me through all of these poems up and down and has supported me the whole way through, so thank you.
They definitely are all winners. They're definitely all winners, but we do have some winners that elevate above the other winners. Okay, I have certificates of participation and ribbons, but we want to award 3 little trophies here, and I will start with the 3rd place from Villa Edition, Katie Donald. She wouldn't prefer Katie, right? And in 2nd place, from CBC, Brad McGinnis. And in 1st place, the winning of the winners, is Emily Bauer from Parkway West. And that concludes Poetry Out Loud in St. Louis County for 2017.